That's why I couldn't tell. Hey.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to an all-new episode of Holotheatre. I am Dan Tartaglione, the one, the only, also known as D Tartag 1. Joining me from the mystery land, the mysterious land of Minnesota, is our good buddy Garrett Larson. You can't see him, but he's there.
Hey, guys.
And we just had Scott on, but he's walking away from the camera. But there he is. So we do have Mr. Scott Lingrow on tonight as well. How you doing, Scott?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to have you on. So we got a nice little show tonight. We're going to talk about some exciting stuff. We're going to talk about Worlds. We're going to talk about a special little award that you won. And but first, I think we got to talk about what is going on in Star Wars CCG right now. So the big thing right now is that the April OCS has returned in the form of the September OCS. So we are now in the middle of that right now. And checking up on the current standings, our good buddy and newest member of the KTOD, Mr. Tom Struthers, who I believe... Garrett, you say that Tom is not Tom, but Timo?
Well, or that Timo is not Timo, but Tom. I'm still not entirely sure. I haven't decided if Tom is... Because I've seen him on Holotheatre, and I'm not sure if he's trying to hide the German accent, or when he goes on as Timo, he just, grabs a bratwurst and pulls up a German affect. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm still sticking with they're just one guy who just plays Gemp 24/7.
I can see it, but right now he is the only person who's finished all 12 of the games. So your theory might hold some weight there. He's currently sitting at 8-4. Right behind him is Connor Britton, who just came. He played in a play-in game at Worlds recently. He's sitting there at 6-0. I wonder what he's playing. But he's sitting there 6-0, and then Jeff Levine's sitting there at 4-1. You still got a lot of time left, 23 days to be accurate with the amount of days left in the OCS. So get out there, play, and then we'll see who makes it up into the playoffs.
I should probably start getting some games in.
You and me both. And then coming up on down the line, this weekend is a kind of a big event. For all those who are interested in traveling to play some Star Wars CCG, get out there and go visit Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, as there will be a Pittsburgh League event this Saturday at 11 a.m. There is another event going on. We have the European Championship out in Bochum, Germany. I think that is the slightly bigger of the event, though. But that event is going on this weekend. I believe there are some players who are already out there in Bochum. They're doing some sightseeing, playing board games, other games, and they're all just enjoying each other's camaraderie. So that's going to be kind of a little bit of an exciting event. And then this Sunday we have a Dagobah League event out there in Marietta, Georgia. Next week, we're going to have a Nowhada League out in Carmel, Indiana. October 7th through the 8th, we have the Nowhada Super Weekend in Carmel. The last weekend in October is the Endor Grand Prix out in Seattle, Washington. And then in the first weekend in November, we have the Corellia Super Weekend, or as Kendall has it, Corellia Omega, out in Columbus, Ohio. So that's going to be a fun little event. I know you were talking about going to some of those events, Garrett. Scott, you going to be able to come out to anything?
Probably not. Not right now. A lot going on personally that I'm not going to be able to travel.
That's understandable. But yeah, we got a lot of events going on to finish out the year. There's a lot going on online as well. Make sure you guys stay tuned to all of that. We still have, I think, 2 more events in the GEP thematic series. So those are, stay tuned to the forums for more information regarding those. And Yeah, outside of that, like I said, I mean, I hear set 22 is right around the corner. So, don't know.
The other neat thing that's coming about is someone's actually designing new virtual cards for Young Jedi.
What?
Yeah, so Al is working on that. So we're working with some people to kind of, he's designing them. He kind of came to us and wanted to do it. So that's
that's
something
cool.
That's very cool and exciting. We're giving him some support. He's kind of resetting the virtual cards we did 10 years ago, and looking forward to seeing what Al's going to do with it. They have a community out there that's playing, and he wanted to really get involved, so we're excited.
So now, for you were just talking about, like, with the Young Jedi, do they have their own version of GEMP?
No, not at this time. I know there's some people talking about it. It's more right now in real life play, but it's a cool thing. There's some neat stuff that we're doing. We're scanning every card in Young Jedi because there is a scomp link for it.
Okay.
And we're working on that, so that's kind of cool. Just some support to some of the games.
Nice. Yeah. So regarding that, like, are we going to be able to, like, print those out like we do with Star Wars CCG?
Yep.
And I know that the PC has a plethora of Young Jedi cards. Will we be able to use those then for future events and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much stuff that we kind of put aside for prizes and things. But yeah, I mean, it won't be for Star Wars cards, right? Obviously, but yeah, you'll print them out, you'll put them in like you normally would with a virtual card, and go from there.
That's really kind of cool, actually. I like that.
Yeah, it's a simpler game, so it's a good way to kind of just use the cards that you have, and get some use out of them. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. So, definitely a good little bit of information. Like I said, as more information regarding any of those topics come up, make sure you guys stay tuned to Twitch, the social media, Slack, forums, Discord. Definitely got to hit up the Discord more. That's a really good source of information. But yeah, we'll get all that information out to you guys as it comes in. Also, if you're looking to read up on some of the stuff that's going on with the European event, I know Keith Brown, our communications advocate, he just to kind of plug that, he came up with a nice little article on that as well. Go check that out. It's right on the forums main page. You can't miss it, right at the top. So, wow, I cannot find that on my thing. Oh, there it is. So, yeah, if you're going to go check that out, like I said, he just came up with a nice little article regarding it. So, go check that out as well, because, like I said, Europeans is they're big, the really big event. So, I'm definitely looking forward to watching some of that this weekend. Also, regarding these, there will be streaming. They're going to be on a time delay. So that way we can have live broadcasting of the games and of the matches on the Twitch channel. So make sure you guys stay tuned to that as well. But let's go ahead and talk about, Scott, your experiences a couple weekends ago in New Jersey, and how you did at Worlds, because holy crap.
I did okay. Right?
You did okay.
It was very cool to make a kind of, not day 2, obviously, or day 3, but I mean, I was able to get to a playoff position, right? It's all you got to do. Mm-hmm. It only takes, one chip in a chair, as they say in poker, so
well,
to get there.
Well, let's start with that. So, you come up on Thursday night. Brian Fred likes to host his little poker event, or we like to play poker, just as like a little fun bonding experience of West Americans and everything. Now, you're playing poker, and at the end of the night, I want to say you had the biggest pile of chips.
Yeah, I was doing pretty good. I know one of the Minnesota guys took a little bit away from me, but I ended up really doing well. I was very happy.
So, I want to say you took a lot of chips from someone. I forget who.
Yeah, a few people.
Yeah. But I know that the big moment was you revealed your hand. You go
5 in a row.
5 in a row. Is that any good? And did you know that you had the straight? Was that you being coy?
No, I knew what it was. I just, I called it 5 in a row, right? I mean, I know that when you get them in a row, that's a win, right? There's certain things
Pretty
like all the
much.
same color, and so
Yeah.
I kind of know it, but I don't really know some of the terminology sometimes, but that's okay.
So you take that, and then on the next day, you played in one of the. No, you didn't actually play. You didn't play in the event, but you streamed the retro event.
Yeah.
How was that? Like, how was it sitting in the commentator chair, streaming the event? Like,
I find myself when I'm streaming, and I streamed a few different games from different events, right? And I find myself asking myself questions in the middle of the game. Like, I'm like, they should do that. Why are they doing that though? Let me go check and make sure, so I'll ask myself a lot of questions, almost like I'm one of the people watching it going, hey, are they doing that? Should they be doing that? Is that the right way to do it? And I find sometimes, I still have to learn if that's the right way to do it, but it was enjoyable. I enjoyed it.
now, was that your first time really doing commentary?
Yeah, I might have done like a thing here or there, but for the most part, yeah, I don't really do it. I've never really sat down and kind of did it for entire games. Absolutely.
So, would you be willing to do it again? Like, would you go to an event? I know you want to play. I know everybody wants to play the game. That's why we sleeve the cards and put them into the decks and everything. But
Yeah.
would you be willing to do, like, say, day one or day two commentary?
Yeah, and it's just a matter of the time, right? That's what it always is. Like even something at Europe, if I can, look at my schedule and fit it out there, I'd love to do it. I don't know if I'm any good at it, but again, I remember discussions when we first started doing it, right? You have the color commentary, you have someone that kind of explains the information. Who knows if there's really a perfect way to do it, but yeah, I think it would be fun to do.
I think you'd be good at it. I mean, now I know that you are one of the more experienced players. You have years of experience, and I think that would go well into a commentary role. Like you might become the next, I don't know, Tony Romo for Star Wars
there you
CCG.
Yeah, start yelling off what he's going to do before he does it.
Yeah.
It's that. Thank you. It's a lot of fun though. I definitely plan on looking at my schedule and seeing if I can do a couple games in Europe. So from here, so we'll try it.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
So, and then Saturday, before we get into your day one, again, we're going to talk about that in the length here. So, you haven't gone to any real events in a while, correct?
Yeah, I haven't been able to travel. So I've done some leagues here and there, right? Coruscant has had some events that I've been able to go to. I went to DC when it was in Worlds, obviously. I was able to travel down that. I wasn't able to go to like Atlanta or some of the Minnesota trips, or Seattle. I went obviously in 2020, January 2020. That was kind of a big one, and then of course DC. But yeah, I haven't been able to really go to some of the traveling events. Right, it's just the way things are sometimes.
And that's fair. And like life happens. I mean, there are definitely more important things other than this game as a whole. Let's talk. It's been a while since you've been to a real life event. How was it getting back in there and experiencing the real thing?
Yeah, one of the things I found myself forget, like you're so used to online where it kind of prompts you to do things, right? And I would find myself forgetting to do something, or having to count and track a little bit. I'm not a very good tracker, but I can kind of I found myself kind of straining to remember, hey, I know this card is there. Let's see where it's at and make sure I can count to it right. I found myself making some mistakes, but nothing major. Looking back, I'm like, more gameplay mistakes where I played a little quick, or I should have done this, or I shouldn't have done that. But that kind of is part of it, right?
And that's fair. So, how did you prepare to get back into the groove?
Yeah, so I kind of was thinking of different dark decks, and I decided kind of maybe like a week to go that I was like, I'm just going to play musicians, but with the new virtual cards, it made it better
Mm-hmm.
because you don't have to worry about Leia Rebel Princess blanking, right? And
Yeah.
so you had to usually put in some meta cards, but now you're playing a card you automatically would play anyway. It just seemed like to make sense because so I decided to do that. I played a few games. I think I played Gogolin and Kafer, and I did very, very well. Played some, against the clone deck, against this deck, that deck, and kind of destroyed everybody with it. So that's what I kind of decided to go with.
Mm-hmm.
For light side, I was talking to Heisenberg, right, Danny Moore, about different versions of the Jedi testing because he had his version that was some EPPs and resilience, and I had some different versions, and we were kind of going back and forth, and we kind of talked through adding in a system because typically our Mind What You've Learned, it plays no other locations, right? You go to them.
Yeah.
And so the goal was, play Kifix, give you somewhere to go because a lot of dark decks are playing ground only. They don't go to space, right? You've got the Walker deck that doesn't do it. You've got the Maul shooting deck. So there's some different decks that don't really go to space. Let's add that in. You're playing space. You should do okay. And that's the kind of the idea we went with, and it seemed to work really well.
So yeah, let's. Why don't we talk about the decks? I have them open up in GAMP, so we'll start with your dark side, and you can run down, talk about it. Show it off. So here is your dark side court musicians deck. Definitely not the most common of any decks out there.
Yeah, it's kind of unique.
So, what's the big goal of the deck? Like, so for somebody who hasn't played it or played against it, what does it do?
Yeah, and it's funny. There's with Kendall, we did a bad deck breakdown on the deck, and that's something that maybe we could link somewhere. It kind of goes into detail, just the concept in general. But the goal is you just go to beat them down. And one of the recommendations that Kafer had with me is he said, listen, why don't you add in HUD Influence to stop the drains from being canceled and add in Galed? Because I didn't have those cards in there. And the thought was if they come to me, I get in battles and I can win the battles and I destroy them that way. If they don't come to me, at least I can drain for 2 and 1 more at the dungeon because Galed adds to the drain there. So that was kind of the idea behind it. It was, let's go after them if I have the ability to, and if not, I'm gonna hopefully drain them, and then they don't do a lot because if they have anything on the ground, I'm gonna beat them down. If not, they're not doing enough damage, so I'm gonna be okay. And they're losing to court every turn.
Yeah, I played this in the team event and can confirm it's really obnoxious.
Yeah. I destroyed. I mean, Garrett and I played, and I think I won by what, like 2 or 3 or 1.
Yeah, it was super close, and I think it was we had an early battle in the audience chamber that I was playing the careful planning, your thoughts dwell on your mother with a bunch of EPPs, and I missed a swing at Erica, and then I had the option to swing at Erica and I think Greta. And I swung at Erica and missed, and then my Battle Destiny, I didn't clear the audience chamber.
Yeah, Erica's forfeit 10, so it's tough.
Yeah, like if I hit Erica, I clear the audience chamber. And honestly, if I hit Greta, I clear the audience chamber because Erica she didn't have any immunity. I cracked the immunity, but it wasn't enough to kill them both. And yeah, it's, it was a struggle. And I think I Hujixed twice.
Yeah.
And then ate some overflow a third time, but I knew exactly what you're doing. It's just, how do you stop it?
And I remember in the team event, right? I played Johnny Chu and won against him. I played David Woods and beat him as well. It does very, very well. I beat Walseth. And random things. The biggest tricks though are oh, good grief, what's his Nizak Beck. because what happens is typically you can move one of their characters away. So they'll kind of rely on having extra characters or power or this or that. And you can literally at the start of a battle just move a character away whose ability is less than your musicians there. So it's tough because if they have Lando and they're waiting for that second destiny, you can easily move Lando away and now they're by themselves, right? So it's very strong. It's very good. The high forfeit's obviously very good. The direct damage is annoying because they got to come after you. And, you know, most of the time decks just lost the force, right? They just wouldn't bother. So, yeah. And, you know, Old Allies was kind of a tough deck to play against. And that deck really isn't in the meta right now, so that's another reason. Because they would play the character that adds your deploy cost can't be modified. So that card really hurts. You know, Master Luke is tough. With this deck, it's not too bad because, you know, you can still deploy a bunch of guys, and even though they're +1, they're -1 still because Scum makes them -1 and the Musician makes them -1. So, you know, usually you can be okay. It depends, right? There's always going to be a one god draw you can't do anything against. But it's just really strong. It destroys people on the ground. It's fun to play. You know, there's always going to be ways around it, but because you play so many characters, it's tough to stop.
So, and like you were saying about that. So I noticed like it's generally looks really weak in space.
Yeah.
If you're only running Darth Maul and you're running the Sith Infiltrator, obviously, you're running Zuckuss and Forlom and the Mist Hunter. Like, how do you go up against like a deck that is like a light side that's stronger in space?
So, you know, one of the games I did lose was against one of the Chew kids, and problem was he was playing a heavy space deck with no 0 hour, and so the one battle I had it tracked, I was going to go battle him, and he used you do have these moments to redraw my last destiny, and that kind of hurt. You know, he basically did not go to the ground at all and waited for me to spread out to do more damage, and then he put every character he had at one site, basically. So, and, you know, it was a tough battle because he had the profundity in there. He had a lot of ships, a lot of characters, and it just, you know, he outpowered me in space. So I think in a perfect world, if I knew that much space, I just go the Maul and Cloak, and that's it. I didn't think about that because, you know, he was doing a lot of damage and it was just a bad matchup, I guess. Looking back, you know, if we played again, I would play it differently. But that's, you know, that's how it is.
Now, I noticed, like, on the deck list that you have one copy of Sense. And outside of Maul, I mean, you have Erica, who's an ability of 5. You have Aurra Sing 4, Jabba 4. I think Proxima's a 4 as well, but you don't have a lot of high Destiny characters to get around to use that Sense with.
Yeah, but you have so many. Think about all the Destinies, right? Your Destinies are 2 and 3 a lot.
True.
So you can easily get Sense to work with anybody. The other thought is a lot of people will play Alter to cancel Scum. I've had that done against me. So Sense automatically cancels Alter without drawing.
That's fair.
So I just needed a card. I didn't know what I wanted to put in there, and I've been playing the Sense lately, and why not?
That's fair. So overall, like, how did the deck do? You said it did really well for you. You beat Johnny Chu, but you lost to one of his kids. Do you remember which kid?
Yeah, Benji.
Benji.
So, I mean, here's the thing, right? So during the weekend, right, it was 3-0 in the team tournament, and it was 3-1 in Worlds. So I mean, it did pretty good. And then I played it in the next day, and it did very well as well. Went 2-1. So you know, it did really well. I know I beat Drew on Sunday, which was nice. I had some good matchups on Saturday. You know, beat some good players. So it just does very, very well. It's a good deck, plain and simple. It's unique. Definitely. Not a lot you can do about it in certain situations, but it's fun.
Okay, so now let's talk about your light side. Your light side definitely is a deck that I think a lot of people have seen you play here and there. It's a deck that you... so before we get into it, who are the members of the My What You've Learned Club? I know it's you.
Yeah, it's pretty much, Surson, it's Matt Lutz, it's Brock. Let me pull it up here because I can't remember everybody off the top of my head. Yeah, it's Daniel Moore, it's Brock Hall, Ryan Surson, myself, Matt Lutz, and Tomas was kind of helping us in the very beginning. He's not really doing anything with it at this point, just because he hasn't had a lot of time to play. And then Stuart Schaefer, I forgot about Stuart. Okay. So Stuart, I don't see him very often on there, but he's there here and there. So yeah, I mean, pretty much it's the team, right? And that's what we do is we've kind of have different versions. We'll kind of try and throw things out there. And lately, the Heisenberg's option where you're reduced your space a little bit, went with EPPs. It seems to be working well that way.
Okay. So yeah, let's go ahead and bring up the deck, and then we'll talk about like some of the choices in the deck, obviously, as well as some of the how do you play it. Like I know that earlier you said that you put Kefix into it, so that way you have a place to go with space. But there's definitely some other interesting cards. Like you have, I know that set 21 gave us At Peace.
Yeah.
What's your take on that card?
Yeah, so it's funny because I think 2 times I retrieved a force before I played it. I just ditched Walkling because I had enough activation. Mm-hmm. What it does is it lets you deploy everybody for 5 force.
Okay.
Right, so that's the big thing is certain decks won't give you enough force, and you kind of would be hurt turn 1. Well, with this, because you get 2 from Dagobah, you get 1 from Walkling, so you're looking at, you can get, 2, 3, 4. You basically just need 1 icon from them. And okay. Darkside's going to play a battleground. If not, you don't have to worry about it. So that's the whole idea is you can get it for 5. We tried a lot of versions with Test 4, and what we found is that, there was one game where I got the card that I needed from Test 4 that one time, but for the most part, it was like in the middle of the game, you don't really need any of the cards in there. It's not going to do a lot for you. So we just didn't bother with it.
Well, so I noticed that, like, you go to test, so you're only testing to Test 3. Yeah. Is Test, like you were just said about Test 4, but what about Test 5?
You just don't have, by the time Test 5 gets off, because think about it, even if you perfectly test, if you're able to do Test 1, 2, and 3 in turns 2, 3, then you got to do 4, which will be the next turn, then 5, which is like 2 turns later. So it's like realistically, it's like turn 6 or 7. You've got all the cards you need. It's not worth it to play the extra cards to do it. You need the other cards to do other things because you're limited in what you can do, right? You have to play a certain amount of cards.
And like you mentioned, like you're running 2 Luke Skywalker Rebel Scouts over, like you were saying, over the EPPs. Why that card in particular over, say, Luke with lightsaber?
Yeah, so the different versions have typically always had him in there, just because of the using force is really, really useful. Some of the other versions had like regular Qui-Gon and regular Obi with their sabers.
Okay.
But we found that using the EPPs is more efficient. Now you're playing Destiny 6 interrupts to get him back. But that Jedi Luke is almost, you have to play him because it's just not worth it to play the other ones because of the fact that he's so good. And we're using the hand in this version that lets you get the interrupts back. So you kind of have to use him. He's like the one character it feels like you always have to play in this deck.
Okay. And I had a question. Now I can't remember what it was. So, I know in the recent, like, we had a lot of, like, in the recent sets, for virtual sets, you can no longer play Projection of Skywalker. Well, you can, but it goes lost, correct?
Yeah.
Does that hurt the deck any?
Yeah, it's always hurt it because, so this is one of the things that I was going to add in and I decided not to, was Virgins, right? Or whatever the light side version is, right? And so in the playoff game against Joe Olson, he drains for 3 at the Cantina, and I wanted to put that in there. I just never added it in because what if we go against that deck? Right now, that drain of 3 becomes a drain of 1. Because even if you cancel their drains, the drain 2 locations are always been a problem. So that's why everybody would usually play the downtown plaza, and that's why one of the versions of this deck always played the Cloud City site that cancels drains at Cloud City.
Okay.
Because a drain of 2 is a problem. So that's the biggest trick. But for the most part, projection on a drain of 1 location, you don't really need to worry about it. They are going to ping you. ROPS was kind of an issue when with ROPS not in here, we didn't have to worry about that because 3 drains of 1 add up over time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Now I noticed like you're still playing Honor of the Jedi. What is that for in particular?
Yeah, we decided to float it because of Huntdown. But the problem is, listen, everybody would always find No Escape very quickly. So Huntdown or Agents of the Black Sun, we said, you know what, let's just load it. And even for walkers, it was just another card early on. It committed them to forcing them to spread out to 3 battlegrounds, and if they can't, until they find No Escape, maybe it gives you a turn or 2 to where you can save some force.
So like I know that Yoda he goes through a lot of cards fast because he just draws cards. He has that potential. How do you find it?
Oh, how do you find Honor? Yeah, I mean that's the thing. You're just going to draw it. That's it. There's no other way. We debated, the one that lets you go through the force pile, right? Those cards are in there. We just floated it. It was just better to have in the deck instead of putting something to pull it. That's really it.
Okay.
So I got one card in here I want to ask about.
Put that down?
No, I understand. Put that down. I actually like it. Why Grimtosh?
So yeah, one of the problems that I found is that people are drawing a lot of cards can hurt this deck.
Yeah.
And so if everyone's going to 14 and they did, I would play that, right? Because you're playing against walkers, you're playing 2 of the interrupts to reduce the damage anyway. So you might as well play that card and pull it. Mm-hmm. And it did help me, right? Because here's the thing, if you're going for cards, because you need specific cards to work against this deck, right? Because you think about it, I'm reducing your drains, I'm making all your draws -1, I'm annoying the heck out of you. You need to go find some of those key cards, right? Draw if unable to otherwise characters, get some better cards. You're going to draw cards to do that, and now all of a sudden I Grimtosh it, right? I did it against Joe Olson. It didn't really help. I mean, maybe it did, but it's a good card to have in the deck.
So yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about how this deck worked for you at Worlds. Did you play it during the team event?
I did not. I played Dark Side.
Oh, that's right. You played Dark Side.
Bill Batchelor played Light. Listen, the deck it played very well, right? I had, it's tough, right? I lost to Desai's Walker deck, and looking back, he had a lot of power on the ground and was outpowering me. But, I think I had one turn where Honor of the Jedi helped. The other thing is, looking back, I should have played Kifix and drained for 2 all game instead of draining for 1, because I went to his system. And looking back, it was close enough that maybe I had a better shot if I'm draining for 2 and space the whole game instead of 1, right? But yeah, I mean that was a tough matchup, and we played a lot of cards, and I couldn't get any of the tech for it, right? I didn't get anything to really help against that early on. Just how it is sometimes. But it did very well against other matchups. I was very happy with it.
So you said about that game with Justin, who did you play against this deck with? Do you remember?
Who did I play against it?
Yeah.
So I played game 1. I played against. Let me pull it up here. I played against Frodo Light.
Okay.
So he was playing Brian Avery. So he was playing Death Star Blow Away. And the thing with that is, it was a tough matchup, right? Because I'm reducing from his everything. He's drawing if unable to otherwise, but My draws are very much higher than his because I'm subtracting from all of them. It just wasn't a good matchup for him. The other game I played Dark Side, or Light Side. Let me see. I played Desai, and he won that game.
Let's
Let me see
see.
what
Yep.
else. I apologize. I didn't have it all memorized.
Oh no no.
I played
You played
game 6. I played Joe Horbley.
Okay.
With my light side. I'm trying to remember what Joe was playing at this point.
Here, I'll pull it up 1 second. You said Joe Horbley. He was playing Walkers.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, it was just again, I got better cards. I got the interrupts. Oh yeah, with that I got the interrupts every time to reduce the damage. He grabbed it could be worse, I believe.
Okay.
So it's kind of like you do or you do or you're damned, so to speak. And then so I again I was 3-1 with the deck. I lost to Desai, and then I beat
You beat
Sam.
Sam's invasion deck.
Yeah, invasion deck. And
That's
then, that was a
interesting.
tough thing because he was playing blasters, and him and I are actually talking because the cost to shoot the weapons, right? He had Maul with his saber, he had all the blasters, not having to needing ability 6 to draw. It was a tough fought game. So I mean, look, my deck is going to be kind of swingy in a way. If I can
Yeah.
use, if somebody's drawing 6 destinies all the time, there's only so much I can do. But if they're drawing like a 3 or a 2 or a 4 and it's reduced over and over again, that stuff can really hurt. Plus the attrition minus, and if you're getting Bright Hope working, and that's one of the reasons we added the card of Dash Rendar V, because our thought was if somebody's playing gangsters, you can reduce damage and attrition even more.
Yeah.
Didn't run into any that game. But it just, that's the Bright Hope really does very well with the subtraction and the attrition reduction.
Yeah.
It's just a way to control their gameplay, right? That's what you're trying to do.
And then you mix the Bright Hope with, like, say, the Gold Leader and Gold 1, so you kind of force them to, they have to have the force to draw their destiny. So I see what your plan is, and it's to annoy the crap out of your opponent. Did anybody say that to you? Like, did you just, like, annoy anybody to the point where they just wanted to quit with this deck?
Yeah, I mean, I know that Brian was frustrated in game 1, right? Because I don't think he'd seen it before. Just the subtracting from everything, and he was at least drawing destiny from quad drive yards, but yeah, it was very frustrating for him. It's just how it is, right? It's a very, and that's why I'm glad they got rid of projection, because if you cut down the drains to 0 with projection, it's just unfair, right? You're doing nothing. They're doing nothing. So that was a good thing. And even cutting the retrieval, I think, makes the deck be more creative, right? You play No Escape or Unita to get a card back. You play Jedi Levitation to get a card back. I had thought about Tibrin as one of the systems. Instead of Kifix, I was kind of going back and forth about Tibrin. Do you even know what that does?
Off the top of my head, no. Garrett, do you have any idea?
Lose 3 from hand to go get any 1 card back.
Yeah. So it was a way to, it's not retrieval, it's a way to just exchange 3 cards from hand to get a card back. It's very expensive. And that's the problem. It's like, is there that 1 card that's going to win you the game? Probably not.
Well, that's my question. Like, I know that you're looking for, like, some sort of pseudo retrieval,
right?
But
it wasn't worth
it. It wasn't worth it, was it?
No. Oh, Unita's a big one. Jedi Levitation's a big one. I think really the only other thing would be playing Baba Frick to put a card on top of your, the top card of your lost pile. It's for Unita.
Yeah.
But again, Obi-Wan Kenobi, where you switch to with card, that I really wanted to put him in there, but EPP Obi was really the way to go. and we can't play Ahsoka with lightsaber. You can't play Rey with lightsaber. You can't play Luke with lightsaber. You really need to have Obi in there.
So why can't you play Ahsoka with lightsaber?
Because the Destiny -1 is just, so now you're subtracting 2, because that was part of it, right? Against the other Walker deck that I played, right, in game 4 or whatever it was, I was reducing everything by 2 because of the fact that he couldn't. Everything's with her and test 3, and then you're playing the interrupts to make it -3. It's ridiculous.
Okay, so going forward, like, I know that you and the team have probably talked about this, but what would you want to see made to help what you've learned?
Nothing. We don't want to see it made, right? I mean, I can't believe that Peace was made. Listen, Dagobah, it made things so much more consistent, and that's an issue, right? So with Dagobah, with that piece, it's like, stop making these cards.
So you're saying that you don't want What You Have Learned to become a good deck?
No, it's a tough. Listen, there are certain matchups. I think, and it's probably true now. The only thing that makes it a little different, pretty much before this event, before the jury juice came out.
Yeah.
If you were not playing an objective, you can't beat the deck.
Okay.
You just can't. It beats anything that's non-objective decks. By being able to play jury juice from the reserve deck now and get that extra drain that can't be reduced with projection, that is makes it very, very strong. But that's the thing, is there are certain decks that they just have no chance. Now, there's certain decks that What You've Learned can't beat, right? If I went up against Dark Deal or Entanglements, I'm losing the game 99% of the time.
I don't know. I mean, I think you have somewhat of a chance. I mean, you have the 2 escape pod combos.
Oh, it's not even. I mean, it's tough. It's going to be very tough because you're playing a lot of walkers. Your EPPs can't do anything with it. You could maybe stop a react. I mean, it's not easy.
But you have the under attacks. You have Pfizer Vision.
Yeah, that was just to do damage. A lot of people like that card, so I was like, yeah it works.
So we have Greg Zinn in the chat. He's watching.
Who?
Greg Zinn.
Oh, yeah.
Rules Advocate. The designer of At Peace.
Yeah.
Do you have any words for him about that card?
No, I mean, listen, it's really cool that he was able to do it, because it slows the deck down if they move test 2.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. There's a heck of a drawback, right? No retrieval at all. You can't even do it. That's a huge drawback. The deck doesn't need it, right? It makes it good. I mean, you keep doing this, it's going to make the deck too good.
So you don't want Greg to make any more better cards for us?
No, I think Dagobah is the one that Dagobah is the best virtual card that's come out. Better than Yoda, even. I mean, Dagobah and Yoda, but I think Dagobah makes it more efficient. Yoda gets you more cards in the hand to help with mid-game, late game. But Dagobah is really a big part of it, because now you're giving up less force because you don't have to play the training area, and you can pull cards before you activate. That's a big deal.
So if you're, do you have any words of advice for somebody who wants to play this deck? Because I'm playing an event on Saturday, and I need a light side, and I'm just looking at this, and I'm just like, I kind of want to be annoying.
Yeah, so, I played an OCS game the other day, and it's tough to play, right? So, like, against Desai in Walkers, where I thought, putting down the Kifix would help me. When I played Invasion Destroyer Droids, putting down Kifix hurt me, because then he could run away from me, where I was controlling space. And that hurt me, and I lost the game because of that play. Probably. Like, it would, maybe I wouldn't have won, maybe I would, but that definitely was the start of the downfall, right? Because I was about to control space, I think, the next turn. So that's the problem you run into is sometimes you make these gameplay decisions and they cost you the game.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a fragile deck, right? So what I would tell you is it's a very fragile deck. When it wins, it's amazing. But, it's tough to play, right? Because you gotta, I don't know, you just gotta know when to do what to do, the stuff. I can't explain it.
I think Garrett had something he wanted to say too.
No, I was gonna, just say I think you hit the nail on the head that Dagobah increasing the efficiency is good, but Yoda, anything that adds cards to your hand out of phase is just so good in anything. That free cards in hand,
yeah,
is so strong that it makes it, but it makes it function. Like you said, the deck has matchups that are, almost unwinnable on both sides.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's, do you like that from a deck? Like, do you like a meta that has some of that, for lack of a better term, rock, paper, scissors kind of action where it's you know when you go into it?
Right, so it keeps it in check, because if entanglements or dark deal, or, well, it's really occupation, right? Those kind of decks keep it in check. I do think that the Jury Juice deck is tough against it. Again, that was kind of a weird matchup with Joe and I. If we play it 10 times, I think I have a good shot to do well against him. I just had some bad luck, and but again, maybe it's 50-50 with us, right? Whereas, that matchup is going to be tougher sometimes, I think, because of the Cantina. But what I think is it's a tough deck to play, but it does what you want in a deck, right? It stops their drain bonuses. Think about lightsabers, ISB, Kashyyyk. A lot of these decks, it just shuts it down, and that lets you play your game without having to rush, and that's what it's about. That's a big part of it.
Okay.
And obviously reducing one from every destiny draw is overpowered.
So let's talk about that matchup between you and Joe. So you get to the point where you're a play-in game, and you find out you're playing Joe, and you're on light side. What was your thought process when you sat down?
Yeah, I know we talked about this a little bit. So, part of it was I typically will just test and ignore the opponent. And I just happen to have EPP-OB in my hand, and I think I had Resilience. And I was like, the average deck's pretty good. I'm pulling out all the sites. Let's just go down and attack them. And, it kind of drew a bad destiny. And part of the reason I did that is because Yoda was in my opening hand, which means he doesn't deploy -2. And Daughter was in my starting force pile. So I kind of was pushed back, because that meant that to play Yoda, I've got to pay 3 for him now instead of 1. And then Daughter, I couldn't even deploy until the second turn, which means that my second turn I'm starting the test, which means my third turn I'm attempting the test. Yeah. And I believe I missed the test. So I just had some bad luck. I think if we play it, I think it's going to, looking back, it's probably an evenly matched deck. But it is a tough matchup, right? It's not just that easy to win it, right?
That's fair. So
because again, typically non-objectives, you can win the game very easily.
And I mean, Joe's a decent player,
obviously. And Joe and I,
he's all right.
Beat each other at Gemp all the time, right? Even since back as far as Texas or whatever, Ramapo. I don't know if we played at Ramapo, but I mean, we played in Texas, right, in the Texas NPC. We played it at other events, and we'll beat each other, and that's how it should be, right? You want to have good relationships or good games. But I think he's definitely obviously very good winning worlds and stuff, and I think though they're good evenly matched decks, which I like.
So I heard that there's a rumor that you're going to replay Joe on Gemp.
Yeah, it's been tough. I wanted to play my dark side against his light.
Okay.
I still have no idea what he played for light, so I haven't looked at it yet, which is good. It's funny. If he watches this, he's gonna see my entire deck, which is fine.
Well, I mean, would you like to know what he played for late side?
No, I don't need to. Okay. So, one of the things though is I've just been busy, and he's been busy, and Garrett was away, and so maybe we'll play next week. I don't know. This next 2 weeks are kind of tough. And I know there's no errata that are being done, so we could probably play in 2 or 3 weeks and still be done.
Okay. Good. Yeah, I would love to watch that. Is there anything on the line besides, like, bragging rights?
Well, it's funny. Back when Joe and I were on IRC together,
IRC?
one of my favorite stories is how he, I used to watch Survivor, right? And I missed the East Coast, channel. I missed it on the East Coast, and I went on IRC. I was like, hey, can you tape the West Coast one for me? So he taped it on a VHS and mailed it to me. I probably still have the VHS here. So, I'll probably think of something for fun that if whoever wins gets something. I could probably do that.
No, offer up a VHS tape, but I don't think I own one anymore.
I do. I mean, mine are Star Wars, copies of Star Wars, but I mean, that's
actually good point. That might be the only ones I have.
Yeah, I could see it. So no, I mean, I would love to see that, and I can't. I would really love to see that because that just sounds really fun.
Yeah, and hopefully it's the problem is, right, my deck's very. It can be tough sometimes in the sense that it could be over quickly. Or if he gets all the cards, I could be done quickly, right? That's kind of I try to play high variant decks, right? They're either going to be really good or things can go wrong. But the deck does have a lot of strengths. Again, without Leia, it's got more versatility, which is good.
So I do want to ask this, though. Would you have changed anything about the decks you played?
Yeah, so
going back?
I think the light side playing the Virgins, and honestly, I probably would have cut under attack. I was kind of talked into keeping that. We didn't know what to cut, so I think under attack is probably the first cut. I really Grimtosh is kind of the 60th card, but again, I felt I needed that. So under attack is probably what I've cut for Virgins, and that would have obviously helped. For Dark Side. I made those 2 tweaks. I think, I think the deck is good as is. Okay. I wouldn't have changed anything.
Awesome. Well, I will say this regarding beyond what happened. I mean, it was just fun to see you playing these 2 exciting decks. And 2, you had a lot of good success with them. Like you said, you got to the point where you were in a playing game with Joe. You were essentially 1 step away from making a top 8 at Worlds. And you were playing My What You Have Learned in Court Musicians. Again, 2 decks that I don't think, unless they know you, nobody was expecting those to be played at Worlds.
Yeah, and it's funny because the reason I play the Musician deck is because a long time ago, Charlie Heron played Dark Side Musicians.
Okay.
And I just loved how that deck seemed so cool. And I was talking to him about it, and I was like, thank you this weekend or the weekend of Worlds. I thanked him because that's the reason of that deck is why I've been playing it over the years.
So are we going to see any light side musicians?
No, they're really bad, and I don't want to see any. They're not very good.
I mean, we had them years and years and years ago. Why not bring those back?
Oh, yeah, the and stuff like that.
Yeah, come on, bring it back.
But, there are some cool musician text. One adds to your ability needed to draw Destiny. They're not as strong as the Dark Side ones, right? These are all Decipher-made cards. They're really, really strong. Not as good for Light Side.
You were going to say something, Garrett?
I was going to say the Light Side, when was a thing, I mean, the very first pre-errata everything was brutal. Like Scott talks about, like, I don't know how that card got made. I sat at Worlds at Gen Con, and the very first version of Uh-Oh was like everybody's power and forfeit +1 for each other musician present, and there was no cap.
Yeah, it was exponential, I think.
And I don't even remember who I played, but turn 2 of Prophet, they dropped like 120 power on me. And it was like, I'm going to put down a Katonak, a Katonak, a Katonak. I'm like, what in the... Then they're just like, all right, so everyone is power +9, so there's 9 of them there, so we're at 81, and now I'm going to start mathing. And I was like, oh my good Lord.
It was way too much. It was way too much.
But it was
You know,
fun.
I think... One thing I will say is there's 2 cards that I really want to try and get to work. That keep your... the ones that don't let the lost pile be seen.
Okay.
But I can't really figure out if there's value in doing it. Because, you know, if you don't see your lost pile, what's the big deal? So, but I like those cards lately. So my hope is that I can find decks that work with those.
As someone who's played a decent amount of Hitco and actually, during a couple games at Worlds, had people blindly losing cards to stack on, I feel the conflict. And then after the fact, like, oh, that's where that card I lost went.
Okay.
Covering a lost pile is not a terrible thing. It's
Watto.
It feels
Watto
like it was a.
The problem is you can't draw it, right? You got to play
like
5 accelerates to get it.
Yeah.
So
it feels like it's a card that was intended for a game that has visible lost piles.
Mm-hmm.
Like in almost every other game, and every other game I've played, you can look through your lost pile and kind of figure out, okay, what am I looking at? What's here? Yeah. Like in a game like that, a card that says, hey, now you can't, would get real nasty real quick in terms of just the, hey, how does this gameplay function? And in our game, I think you're right. Without being able to start it, it just doesn't have it's not good enough to justify.
I think Watto pod racing, where the old school way where you just play like 30 characters that can go down really cheap turn 1. There you go.
Why do you hate fun, Scott?
I'll build it. We'll see if it's any good.
Let's do it.
Why do you hate fun?
First game is going to be against Garrett.
Yes.
Why do you hate fun? Just like that. I don't even understand. Like, this is a family show, and you're like, I'm going to do Watto pod racing with Keep Your Eyes Open. And
hey, why not, right?
Why not?
I'll let you know the next time I can build something that's really good.
So, speaking of building things that are really good, for playing the decks that you did at Worlds, you ended up getting this really cool award created by Derek Jackson. Twin-casted, double-sided medallion. One side showing the Jedi Order, and then the other side with the PC logo of R2-D2, and then the 2023 logo on it. Really, really, really cool award. Have you been given it yet?
Not yet. But I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it framed for my office, though.
At one point, we're gonna need to see all like your awards and stuff, like all your office and everything.
Yeah, I got some cool stuff in there.
I can imagine.
Yeah. I'm excited though. I like it. It's an awesome award.
Oh, definitely.
It was well earned. Those were very creative decks.
Well, I got to win another one now.
Well, for Watto pod racing, of course.
We'll see. I'm going to save it till Worlds next year.
You're going to Euro Worlds next year?
Oh, yeah. Maybe. Yeah, I'd like to go. I don't know.
I think
that's a tricky one.
That would make everything amazing. Like if you went to go, because I know Garrett's not going.
Garrett is unlikely to go. I've got kids starting college next year, so.
Yeah, I've got some in college already. So yeah, it's tricky. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see if I got to get my passport first. We'll try.
That's important. But definitely, I think that would be a great time if you were out there with everybody playing Star Wars CCG in Bochum.
Yeah, I have a poster over there with all the European players that signed it from when Euro Worlds was a couple of years ago, and it's just awesome to see those faces in real life. Would be amazing.
Oh, definitely. Okay, sir. So we got one last thing to do tonight, and then we're going to call it a wraps. It is time for your card challenge. This is to win a Holotheatre Host and Hero pack.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is I have 45 seconds up on the clock. I'm going to show you a card. All you have to do is tell me what card is underneath the V card.
Okay. I will tell you, I literally just sleeved my entire collection.
That's great because I will say this: the way to do this is if you played a deck, look at what you most recently played. However, I went a little harder just for Scott.
Good.
Scott,
bring it.
You have 45 seconds. You can to tell me what is underneath. Ahsoka Tano, Ahsoka's Shoto lightsaber.
Oh gosh.
Your timer starts now.
So
I'll give you one hint at the 15-second mark.
So boy, oh boy. I have no idea what it could be. So I'm thinking of, from a proofing standpoint,
Garrett,
is that the shorter one?
That is the shorter one.
So I'm like, what,
I truly have no idea. I've never played.
So the only thing I can think of is what's the card?
Interrupt.
It's like, aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
I'm
here to rescue you.
Yeah,
I was going to say your timer's up, but your hint is it is a interrupt.
Yeah, I would guess. My guess would be I'm here to rescue you.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but it's local defense.
From Cloud City or Special Edition, right?
Special Edition.
Dang.
And you want to hear something? So local, I believe it is also the same card that is Ezra, the newer Ezra.
Local defense?
Mm-hmm. No. His is Heroic Sacrifice, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, I think it is because Coolio had to borrow a copy of that from me.
I'm trying to remember what other. There's another card that is local defense, but I can't remember what it is.
I thought.
Is it the local defense combo?
Yeah, there's that.
Darn, I really thought from a proofing standpoint, because you look at how proofing decides on these cards, right? Sometimes it's amazing.
Well, it's like Lord Sidious is the Coruscant Galactic Senate for a reason.
Yeah, I am the Senate, and there's some that they're really niche. Yeah. Like one of the things we learned tonight is we're scanning all the YJ cards for the Scomp Link. Is that between the copyrights, there's one letter, and they spell out something for every card.
What do they spell out?
Someone figured out what all the cards in Menace of Darth Maul say. It says, decipher Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Turmoil has engulfed the Galactic Republic. The taxation of trade routes to underlying or outlying star systems is in dispute. So like every card has one letter and it all spells that out.
Huh.
Nobody knew that. I didn't know it until I was scanning everything.
That's interesting.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and it's crazy that somebody actually figured that out.
Yeah, someone literally tonight went through, I think it was Jules Skywalker. He went through and pulled up every card and wrote it out.
Well, it looks like Garrett is playing a 10th anniversary game, so good luck, Garrett.
Yep, I jumped into one while I finish up here.
While we're wrapping up.
It's because I still have a few to get done in the next couple days, so
yeah,
I only have so much time,
And I just hit my 49th month in a row with Prime Gaming, so that's cool.
Nicely done.
And I want to say I'm at the same thing, but
I am nowhere near that close. I'm at like month 9 or 10, something like that.
Yeah, I'm like 6 in a row, but I've done it for 49 I just didn't do
Yeah.
it exactly in a row, like or
With Prime not auto renewing,
37.
it's really easy to forget.
yeah, yeah. But it's cool.
Oh, it's great. I love that, I love that the PC has this. I love all this, all
Thank you
this
for
stuff.
everything, Dan, by the way.
We
yeah,
do.
It's cool, Garrett.
But, well, everybody, I think that is all we have for this evening. This coming up next week, I'm going to have a special Monday episode of Holotheatre. That is going to include Mr. Tommy Large Porg himself. We're going to meet up on Monday. We're going to play some Star Wars CCG in person. And you know what? I think we're going to have a nice little time between him and I. So make sure you guys tune into that on Monday, and then that will again be re-airing on Thursday as well. And then the week after that, we're going to have the European Championship winner. So that's definitely going to be a fun one to talk about. So, and then towards the end of the month, we're going to have the Hollies. So hopefully next week we're going to announce the categories for those as well. So definitely looking forward to all the stuff that we got going on this month in Star Wars CCG. So until next week, everybody, take care, enjoy yourselves, and have a good, safe weekend. And as always, may the Force be with you.